I'm Bonardi.
And I'm Russell Pierce.
And welcome to the very, very first episode of Game Nation, where everything will be where we will be...
Good start, Brian.
This is the first episode. Sue me. All right, we'll get better with time. We'll get much better with time, all right?
Tell them what we're going to do.
All right, pretty much what we're going to do this episode is introduce ourselves, of course, and always the main topic of the show is video games. We're going to be spending 2 hours with you talking about nothing but video games. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. GDC just happened. PAX East just happened. A bunch of announcements came out. Some interesting controversies this past month. And also a lot of games came out, and we're going to definitely be reviewing them. So stay tuned. But right now we're going to get into... first off, we're just going to introduce ourselves. I am, of course, my name is Brian Bonardi. I've been pretty much, been playing video games all my life. I started playing around the... I want to say the Nintendo days. Not the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo days. So pretty much I've been playing games all my life. I have a good knowledge of them. I'm mostly a broadcast media major. Russ, what about you? What have you been doing?
Well, in terms of where I started...
You're really weird where you started from.
What do you mean I'm really weird?
Well, you're a poli-sci major.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
What's a poli-sci major got to do with video games?
Well, I used to write reviews for my high school newspaper for video games.
Yeah, I kind of had my own little blog, too. I've
been around video games my entire life, back to when my father gave me his old Sega Master System years ago.
Oh,
so I'm even before the Nintendo.
You're before the Nintendo.
My first system I actually owned was a Sega Genesis. I used to be a big Sega fanboy back in the day.
Who wasn't?
Yeah, I actually didn't convert over to Nintendo until way later, and
I've always kind of been middle of the road. I kind of just tasted a little bit of everything. Some of my favorite games were on the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo especially. That was when I really got into video gaming. Nintendo, not so much. I'd play a little bit, but I was a kid, so I didn't know any better.
Well, you still play video games on easy nowadays with cheat codes, so it hasn't changed much.
Hush, you! I do not do that.
Yes, you do.
I totally do not do that.
Everyone knows you do it.
No, I don't.
It's a well-established fact.
It is not a well-established fact. You are speaking lies and slander, good sir.
You have never, ever played a game on hard, and it's well known.
All right. So right now, we're going to get into some news. Of course, the biggest event that happened was GDC. That's the Game Developers Conference. It was held in... where do they hold it? San Francisco, I think. It
really doesn't matter where it's held.
Well, it doesn't matter where it's held. It's one of the big conferences for gaming that happens every year. A lot of big announcements come out of that. The biggest one, in my opinion, was the reveal of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy this. And now, little background about me. I am a huge Kojima nerd. Going back to Police Knots. I've played Zone of the Enders.
So have I. I have the HD collection of Zone of the Enders.
I have that too. Since I don't know where my PS2 copies ever went. Probably traded in years ago for a rip-off amount from GameStop.
Probably.
But anyway, one of the things I really like about this, because first of all, like I said, I'm a huge Kojima nut. And but Metal Gear Solid 4 always left a really bad taste in my mouth. Can you remember?
Yeah, I remember you telling me about it. The way we described it is this. You described it as... You said it first. You describe it better.
So after watching an hour and 25 to 30 minutes of cutscene right from the get-go, Kojima's little intro movie, I took 16 steps into the game, and I was immediately met with 20 more minutes of cutscene. So I was not happy with this from the start. I felt like I was actually I was being instructed not to play this game, as if me being on the controller was a problem for Kojima.
He kind of went the same way with Metal Gear Solid 2, and that was really cutscene heavy.
Yeah, but the difference between it then and now was, even though it was cutscene heavy, I never felt like I was hamstringing the storytelling. As opposed to with Metal Gear Solid 4, I always felt like he wanted to tell a story that he didn't want me involved with. Now, he has since sort of redeemed himself with Metal Gear Rising, which was a little bit more action-oriented. The storyline was a bit out there, but...
so you got a chance to play it finally.
I have gotten a chance. I have not beaten it yet, so I would appreciate just that you don't...
I'm not going to spoil it. Because there's probably listeners out there who have either have yet to play the game, never intend to play the game, or just don't care.
But I do believe that it did go a little more the action. And one thing that I liked about it was it made Raiden a badass again.
Yes, it did.
Which,
He kind of got to that level of Metal Gear Solid 4.
I shouldn't say again. I should say it made him a badass. Again would be implying that beforehand he was. But
no, and two, he was a whiny little...
blonde.
Twit.
We'll go with blonde.
Yeah.
But anyway... but as I was saying, with Phantom Pain, the way that Metal Gear Solid 5 looks to be going, it's almost as if 2 games are being released as Metal Gear Solid 5.
I felt that too. I felt like originally, this is the story of what happened. Originally, Kojima announced Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, which was everyone thought to be the actual true next Metal Gear game.
And horribly named, might I add.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, there was another project called The Phantom Pain. But in the reveal trailer that was released at the VGAs last year, there was these little letters kind of blacked out a little bit, so you couldn't really see the Metal Gear Solid 5 symbol, or Metal Gear Solid Z, whatever. But
it is what it is.
But everyone thought, the Phantom Pain, that's another game they're working on. But people, fans started noticing it, the internet started noticing it. It's that's Metal Gear Solid 5. So what we're going to... So fans were speculating, but everyone's but Kojima decided to play this little sneaky route and create this false studio called Moby Dick Studios, and his false producer for it.
Because the way to make things as unobvious as you possibly can is to name them after a giant blue whale, of course. Which
in the trailer was on fire.
Which is on fire. A whale which is on fire is quite possibly the least noticeable thing. The least noticeable thing you could possibly have.
Yeah, a whale coming out from the sky on fire.
But anyway, what I do like about this title is that it seems like it's more about Kojima trying to appease the masses. Now, whether or not he's actually going to do it, because he's sort of at this point, it almost feels like he believes himself to be a filmmaker trapped in a video game maker's body. And I'm hoping that this one will go more the route of Metal Gear Solid 3. Which still remains to be one of my favorite games of all time.
Okay.
It's in my top 10.
I personally prefer 2. 2 and 3 I enjoy for different reasons.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 2 I enjoyed for the storyline. 3 I enjoyed for the gameplay.
Yeah. Well, whether you like 2 or 3 better is irrelevant. The fact that what I'm saying is 4 was definitely let down from people that I know. Almost everybody universal I've spoken to had the same opinion as never felt like they were playing a video game. So we'll see where this goes. Perhaps, Kojima has started to, go the route of getting away from trying to tell too much story in so short of a time. The way that I'm starting to realize it, though, is that video games, they kind of almost follow a pattern where the later versions, it's really hard for a person to understand where it's coming from unless you've been there the whole time. A lot of people recently had a lot of complaints with Resident Evil 6.
Oh, yeah, I had my complaints with that too, and my God, that game.
Now this is actually really really good for a topic for me. I'm a bit of a Capcom nut as well.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I've loved Mega Man since I was a kid.
Everyone's loved Mega Man.
Yeah. I have a huge connection with Street Fighter, of course, who doesn't have their favorite character that they wish they could be, and who hasn't pretended to do a Hadouken at one point in their life. And I don't know about you, Brian, but I really honestly do believe that Guile's theme goes with everything.
It does go with everything. Guile's theme does go with everything.
And so, but now Resident Evil 6 was a very, you see, now that's where you and me differ. Is I actually did not find it to be a bad game. Now, Resident Evil was quite possibly my favorite game when I was a kid, when I was 8 or 9. Now, why an 8 or 9-year-old is
playing a zombie survival horror game,
obsessed with being scared, I'll leave it up to you all to understand that on your own. I mean, you're not my therapist.
No.
So, but
or we think.
Yeah. Now this is the way I look at it. Is these games, they have to evolve with their times.
Yeah, they do. You can't.
Now with Resident Evil 6, it evolved.
It went to an action. It felt like they tried to do.
Yeah, they definitely tried to amp it up. But what ended up, like, a lot of people, it almost seemed like it was like 50-50 split, where there was like a great idea that they went that way.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I was a person who kind of agreed. I felt like I got a lot of bang for my buck.
Oh, yeah.
When it came to Resident Evil 6. There was almost like playing 4 separate games.
Well, yeah, because you had 4 main character campaigns, and each one played differently. You had Leon, which played more like Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4, I think.
Yeah, you did.
But
it didn't matter how they were played. What I'm just saying is, now this is where I'm kind of drawing like comparison Resident Evil 6 to these 2 new Metal Gear Solid games, is that it may go that route where people will be upset with where the series is going. So we're gonna have to. I mean, we will have a review of both of these games when they come out.
When they come out, yeah.
When do they? Do you know when the date?
They have yet to be announced.
They have yet to be announced.
There's still a to be announcement.
I mean, we don't even really know anything about it. I mean, the Phantom Pain, that can kind of go a lot of directions.
One of the guys, Jeff Keighley, who was one of the producers on Game Trailers. He recently did an interview with Kojima, and Kojima wouldn't even say if these games were going to be on the next-gen system. Because when you look at the graphics engine, you think to yourself, these can't possibly be run on the PS3 and 360. But Kojima said they're going to be on PS3 and 360. So we have to assume they're at least going to be, or at least one of them is going to be at holiday of this year, if not beginning of next year. And whether they're going to be on the PS4 and the new Xbox, I'm not calling it the Xbox 720 because that's just a rumor mill nickname. It's not the official name Microsoft has given the system. I'll start calling it that if it's the official name. But I'm going to start calling it the new Xbox. So when the new Xbox gets announced, if Kojima says it's going to be on that, it's going to be on that.
Okay. Well, this is the way I look at it, though. Now back to like this. When they come out, they're going to sell.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
I'm going to buy it.
Kojima has he's gotten such a reputation now. I honestly think he could put a turd in a box and market Metal Gear, and it would, and people would call it Metal Gear Turd, and they would love it.
They would love it, but at the same time, you would just be like, it's just a big old turd.
The only issue I sort of have with these games is actually like right up front right now is I do not like the name Ground Zeroes personally. It's not even a connotation to 9/11 or anything like that. I actually find it to be a really stupid name.
Oh.
Because Ground Zeroes is not.
You can't pluralize.
Yeah, it's not proper
a single
English.
Location. That's no.
I mean, I know
it's great English. It's great English.
It's a bit
not English.
It's a bit of a stretch on my part, and me being a grammar person.
Yeah.
I don't want to use a particular term.
Yeah, I know.
That might not sit well with any. Yeah.
But you got to. Like when Kojima said, like they're going to be two separate games. Like you don't know if
they are going to be 2 separate. Not that there might be. I mean, I would
like when he said Ground Zeroes was the prologue to the Phantom Pain.
Mm-hmm.
My mind immediately went to prologue is in they're both one and the same.
The way that Metal Gear Solid 2 was set up.
Exactly. Yeah. The similar way to Metal Gear Solid 2 was set up. What
I would like to do is I would like to see 2 completely separate games released at the same time, and you could buy either or, and then like.
See, I wouldn't recommend that because at that point you're really splitting the audience because a lot of people. Like, maybe people get both, but if you release them both...
Brian, we all know everyone's going to buy both of them.
Oh, of course everyone's going to buy both of them, but you don't...
Okay, you know what? Actually, just thinking about it, I changed my mind a little bit here. Maybe do something similar to, like, what they did with a lot of the, like, a lot of movies have been doing now, where it's, like, part 1 and 2. Just really close, within a month of each other. Don't let people even start to, like, forget about the last game before you release it.
Don't even give them any time to breathe.
No refractory period at all. Just go. You beat the first game right into the next game. That would really be something.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
Other things that happened. There were a couple other big announcements for GD. None of them really mentioning.
Yeah, this is a big one.
This was one of the biggest to come out of GD in my opinion. So up next, like recently, like I don't know if any of you know, HQ, biggest development companies. The oldest companies in the industry is no more. THQ,
I wait a little bit.
A couple people weeped a bit. I mean, myself included. Some of my favorite games were THQ. But THQ recently announced that THQ dissolved. I'm trying to get my phrasing right. THQ recently went bankrupt, of course, and a lot of properties are going bankrupt. So
they're up for auction.
There are a lot of options are going up for auction. One of them is Darksiders series. Now,
that is really a phenomenal series.
Oh yeah, I have Darksiders too.
It's really like a gem in the rough of games right now. Like a lot of people like not many people really realize how good these games are.
No, I've yet to play the first Darksiders. I have Darksiders 2.
I have Darksiders 1 if you're.
I'll borrow it and play that because I feel like I want to play the first one before I get into Darksiders 2.
Yeah. Well, I have a digital download. I'll just bring my.
Then whatever. If not, I'll just go to. I'll go to my local game store and buy a used copy.
That's a bit of a thing for me. I'm more into the downloading games nowadays.
Yeah,
the direct to drive kind of stuff.
But recently, what's his name? David Adams, who is the CEO of Crytek USA. Now, Crytek, just to give you a little context here, is the company that made the Crysis games.
And Far Cry.
Was they Far Cry?
Yeah,
no, Ubisoft was Far Cry.
I thought Far Cry was still part of Crytek.
No, Far Cry was Far Cry used the CryEngine, which is Crysis's which is the engine Crysis used for their game. So Far Cry used the CryEngine. They use CryEngine 2. Most recently, CryEngine is the software palette that they use to create these games. Like every single game runs on an engine. The CryEngine is Crytek's engine.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was missing. I thought I was kind of confused there.
Yeah. Well, it's a good education for some of our listeners. But David Adams, who's the CEO of Crytek USA, the U.S. branch of Crytek, tweeted on his Twitter recently, going to bid on the Darksiders IP. So that means, now that doesn't say Crytek bought the Darksiders IP. It means when Darksiders franchises license go up onto the auction, then they are going to put their bid on it.
Yeah.
And it was.
I honestly have a feeling they'll get it.
They probably will get it because
Crytek right now probably has. I would assume based on the success of Crysis 3, I would assume that they have a little bit of funding they're going to want to throw around.
Oh,
I mean, this isn't an insider thing. I don't know anybody at Crytek.
Neither do I. I don't have any insider information on this. This is all assumption that I'm getting from various websites like Destructoid, GameIndustry.biz, GameIndustries.biz, Game Trailers, Destructoid. GameIndustries.biz, Destructoid, Kotaku. There's all these various gaming websites you can check out to get further information of what more I can provide. But this bidding option was better supported by Vigil's co-founder. Vigil was the original company that developed Darksiders. I had a little brain fart there. It happens. But Vigil's co-founder, Ryan Stefanelli, commented, when the Darksiders IP goes up for auction, Crytek will be bidding for it. Now, these came from Destructoid's website. These quotes came from an interview, a story broken by Crytek. So, and Darksiders, like we've already said, was an amazing game.
Yes, it definitely is one of those, it's kind of flown under the radar games.
It is. A lot of people, when Darksiders first came out,
which is weird, might I add, for a game to get a sequel when it's sort of gone under the radar.
Yeah, it is weird. A lot of people commented that a lot of people called Darksiders a more mature Legend of Zelda.
I could agree with that.
It's a very much more mature Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda, while they're great games, one of my favorite games, one of my 5 greatest games of all time is Link to the Past.
Link to the Past is really good.
On Super NES.
Often overshadowed by the later success of games.
Like Ocarina of Time, a lot of people prefer.
Ocarina of Time it set the standard for 3D action adventure games.
Yes, it did. It did, but
at the time, Link to the Past was definitely ironically enough, it was ahead of its time, even though it was a Link to the Past.
And just so our listeners know, you can call into the station. If you want to give your comments on any of the stories we're reporting, give us some of your favorite games. Join in on our discussion. You can call us in at 347-327-9451. Just call into the station. We'll get you on the air. We'll find out who you are, where you're from. And you can just join in on
all your dirty details.
Not those details. Just call on in, and you can join in on the conversation if you want to. But right now we're going to go into pretty much a good chunk of meat in today's episode.
Oh, you have steak?
I have steak.
Oh, good.
I have steak. It's a little medium rare. I know you don't like medium rare.
I'm more about the well done.
I don't like you already. But pretty much one of the biggest stories that happened this month that caused a lot of a huge cascade of events recently was SimCity.
Oh yes. I'm gonna leave you more to this. I'm not much on.
Yeah, because I have the game. I've played it. I've experienced these issues. A lot of my friends experience these issues.
I can give some opinion though.
You can give an opinion because this will go into another one of our big discussion topics in just a minute. Pretty much the thing with SimCity was SimCity is the most recent simulation game in that you can create whatever kind of city you want. You can have a gambling city, a mining city, a commercial city, tourism city. Whatever city you want, you can make it. It is not that hard of a game. It is very, very fun. I must have dug 40 hours into that game so far.
Yeah,
I
would assume. I mean,
that's a huge chunk of time.
I remember when it first came out. You were pretty much on it all the time.
Almost. I was on it for a good day or two.
But for the whole day.
Yeah, pretty much. And then but pretty much what happened was when the game launched, it came with it a series of errors.
Error.
Yeah, and these errors, well, they were pretty damning to the game in that...
Damn the game.
No, not damn the game, but in that when the game first came out, so many people bought the game and logged onto it at launch, the servers crashed because the way SimCity is set up, it's set up kind of like an MMO in that you always have to have an online connection to play the game, because all your cities are stored server-side, your account is server-side. Everything about the game except its runtime and its processing power is server-side. And before launch, EA never did a proper stress test on these servers. So, with that in mind, it's pretty much a DRM, a digital rights management. And a lot of people were saying that, they did this because of DRM, because they're afraid of piracy and all that. But I have a couple things to talk about that in a minute. I just want to get this out there first. And pretty much, the game was nearly unplayable for about a week.
Now now here's the issue that a lot of people have with these kind of things is this connection and this for obviously, you said piracy.
Yeah.
Whereas I do understand where they're coming from, there is a certain level of annoyance that comes with this.
I mean, last year we had Diablo 3. Diablo 3 had very similar issues. The famous Error 37. Diablo 3 had these exact same issues.
Yeah.
Well, last year.
Now one of the things
but
is.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the difference between those two. Diablo 3, it was Diablo 3 right out of the gate was designed to be a multiplayer game. SimCity, most of the time when you play SimCity, you're playing it on your own. If you want to play with friends, you can just set up an online server and play with friends. But this one, you always need the online connection, so it's a little bit different. It's not really an MMO.
Yeah, but now here's the thing: is one thing I do like about these constant internet connections for things. There are a lot of times where having something stored remotely for you is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do enjoy that, everything is stored except for mostly the processors that need to be required is within your own system. So it is a good idea because you never know what's going to happen. You could lose entire files sometimes. I mean, if your computer with the crash, you would if your saves are stored remotely elsewhere.
Oh yeah, like if you store your saves on a cloud, then that's great because then you just reconnect to your account and your saves are right there to use.
Exactly. I do now, but now being forced to do that is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't necessarily need to do that all the time, and it's kind of a slippery slope when it comes to anything like that. Where now like what's the next game that's going to need constant internet? I mean, do you really need a constant internet for the next Halo?
No.
I mean, really, the internet for Halo is just to go on and get cursed out by 4 or 5 year olds.
More like 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
If I start getting cursed out by a 4 or 5-year-old, then
it doesn't matter how old they are.
Exactly.
What I'm just saying is that's an optional thing. I personally like to go on to a game from time to time and be scalded at by someone who's half my age.
Yeah.
And
truly half your age.
Truly half my age. And and might I add, they totally deserve it. They're kicking my ass every single time I'm playing. I don't know what they're doing.
This is one of the reasons why I don't go online multiplayer, because I'm always going to get killed. I am, like most of my friends have me nicknamed as Target Practice.
That was me, actually.
You started it, but it bled from you.
That's because I no-scoped you 10 times on, what was it, Modern Warfare 2? 10 times in a row, and you were standing in place. I no-scoped you with an MP5.
No, that was your Rainbow Six.
Whatever.
In single player, you no-scoped.
No, but I no-scoped you with some sort of submachine gun, 10 times in a row, and I just yelled at him that he was Target Practice. So if anybody calls in and wants to call Brian Target Practice, that would be okay. We'll know who you're talking to.
We'll know who you're talking to.
But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about that other than it was a colossal flop with all the online connections and stuff.
Oh my God!
It has since been fixed.
It's been fixed, but it took them a week to a week and a half.
It's kind of a non-story
to fix them. It is a non-story at this point, but it is interesting to still bring up and discuss.
Yeah,
because recently, GameIndustry.biz did an interview with I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but Frank Gabot. He was I think he was EA's label's president, and he went on to say that the DRM thing that's not the reality. He went to quote about DRM saying, "That's not the reality. I was involved in all the meetings. DRM was never even brought up once. You don't build an MMO because you're thinking of DRM. You're building a massively multiplayer experience. That's what you're building." He continued on to say that DRM, now he agreed with me that DRMs are completely stupid. And not that way of saying. He went, DRM is a failed dead-end strategy. It's not a viable strategy for the gaming business. So what we tried to do creatively is build an online service in the SimCity universe, and that's what we sought to achieve. For the folks who have conspiracy theories about all evil suits at EA forcing DRM down the throats of Maxis, that's not the case at all. So what he's pretty much saying is that he hates DRM. But he's also saying that DRM was never the intent for SimCity.
Well, we're just gonna have to take his word on that. We don't really have any other information, so we can't. I mean, we can skepticize here.
You can skepticize as much as you want.
We could sit here and yell and scream and say that EA is full of evil human beings in cloaks, sitting around a pile of burning money.
Well, recently there were two big announcements in terms of from a business standpoint. John Riccitello, the CEO of EA, stepped down.
Yes.
He is no longer CEO of EA. They have one of their previous CEOs running the company right now while the board figures out who they're going to make CEO next. And the other one was the president of Square Enix stepped down. That's a big one because Square Enix, my God.
Well, Square Enix. I mean, this isn't. You know what? This one, I'm going to shoot from the hip here because this isn't even on our list of topics.
No.
But
I
Square
just read
Enix,
this morning.
Yeah, Square Enix has actually, they've been like, I don't know what's happened to them, but Versus 13, I mean,
it's never
coming out.
It's been in development for 7 years.
There's a term for this that not many people, well, not everybody might know, but it's called development hell. It happens with movies and especially video games.
Oh yeah. There's two. Square Enix has 2 games right now. 2.
Yes.
Really big games in development hell. One is Final Fantasy Versus 13.
Yeah.
And the other one is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, Kingdom Hearts 3 is even worse because they've been teasing us with that for, how long? When did Kingdom Hearts 2 come out?
I have no idea.
It was on the PS2.
It was on the PS2, it's a while.
I mean,
it's been a while.
Kingdom Hearts 3 has effectively survived, not come out through the survival of an entire generation of consoles.
Yeah. 2 generations, technically.
Yeah. But now
we're technically on the 2nd generation since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out.
Yeah. Now,
and 3 has yet to be released.
Yeah. I mean, they've done all these little teases here and there.
And they
really,
had the Birth by Sleep.
And they had that other one with some number of
and Birth by
days.
Sleep is supposed to be the segue directly into 3.
I mean, I'm not a Kingdom Hearts guy.
I'm not a Kingdom Hearts guy either.
I like the concept of Kingdom Hearts, but I never liked the execution of Kingdom Hearts.
I personally like. I like the gameplay style, not so much the story.
I don't really. I've never really associated Goofy and Donald Duck with fighting Sephiroth.
No.
And we all, you know my opinion of Sephiroth. I mean, and if I'm saying that he needs to, he doesn't even belong fighting these kind of characters. If I'm agreeing with anything. Then.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a little sidebar. We don't need to talk. But back to this DRM thing. Actually, what's something I'd like to speed past this because we're kind of run out of steam on the DRM.
Fair enough.
But back to this MMO constant internet connection. There were a couple announcements recently this past week.
Yes.
I'll run them both.
Mm-hmm.
I'll run them both right now. We'll talk about them individually. We have recently Capcom, much to my dismay, has announced that they have ceased operations on Mega Man Online, and the second one is Warner Brothers. Has announced that they are going to be pursuing another MMO.
Well, not really an MMO. It's more of a MOBA, which is a massively online battle arena. Kind of like the most popular one, of course, being League of Legends.
Yeah, but whether it's a MMO or not, it's a massive multiplayer experience around their property, and this one specifically around Infinite Crisis. Let's take these.
Well, they're calling it Infinite Crisis, which means they're bringing in every single, or as many people as they possibly can, from the DC universe into. Let's tackle this one first because I know this one a lot better than I knew Mega Man Online.
Yeah, I'll take care of that one more.
But Infinite Crisis, I am interested to see what they do with this.
I'm very skeptical. DC, I mean, I'd have to see what. I mean, we all know Gods Among Us is coming out very soon.
Yeah, Injustice is coming out.
And yes, for those of you.
So many people I know are excited about that game.
I'm very skeptical about anything that has to do with DC nowadays. It just seems like if Marvel does everything better, and
not everything.
Pretty much everything. And we're not going to get into this argument, Marvel versus DC. We can have this all day.
That could be an entire episode.
But and until I see what they do with this next game, which is coming out very soon, so we'll probably have it.
It's coming out. I think they announced it for the holidays. Another one that's supposed to be coming out soon is they announced the next Batman Arkham game.
Yes,
Arkham
Origins. Yeah.
Is it called Arkham Origins?
Arkham Origins, yeah. I just read about this morning. They're looking to go back to, the 50s era, man.
They're pretty cool.
I can only hope to get Adam West play the voice. That would be full circleness.
Adam West do it again? Dear God. Yes. At that point,
he's an experienced voice actor. He's been on Family Guy for the better half of,
since the series started.
For the better half of the series.
I'm not saying he's not experienced. He's experienced started. But I feel like if they use Adam West to be, we're not getting true gritty Batman. We're really getting campy Batman.
Well, no, duh. I mean, you're talking about he is the Batman, and I don't care whether it can be or not. The game,
I mean,
the game is
just
together. Sometimes you can't bomb. Okay, and that. All I have to say is bat shark repellent. If there is not bat shark repellent in my campy game that involves Adam West in my fantasy here, I like some bat shark repellent. I in real life. I don't even really care if it's in a video game. Shark repellent should exist. Okay, sharks are coming. Okay, there's a reason why the shorts are getting short. The sharks are coming for us. But yeah, that is
Infinite Crisis. Like, you're gonna have. I think they already introduced. Pretty much, we already know that everyone in the current universe of DC is going to be in there. I think they're going to have some of Earth 3 characters in there. I think they're going to have
Ultraman would be good.
I think they're going to have Ultraman in there. I think I saw Ultraman in one of the trailers. I want to know how they're going to play this out, though.
Well, this is really early development.
It's really early development. The trailer's just been announced. So there's really not much information out there on this. But it's still like one of the things that to come out this past week at least. And from there, what's going on with Mega Man Online? So this is your
okay. Well, basically with Mega Man Online, I know I hadn't talked to you much about this, but there has been for a while they've been talking about this, and it's what they want to do. They want it to be basically a mashup. So if you can think of anybody who's a Mega Man fan out there, and anyone who's not really, original Mega Man, the 80s version.
The one not really the Blue Bomber, the guy in the yellow jumpsuit.
Yeah, like there, and then up to the Blue Bomber, and then Mega Man X, which is my favorite, because come on, jump and shoot, jump and shoot. That's all.
I like Mega Man X. My favorite was always Mega Man Legends.
Mega Man Legends really wouldn't be as involved with this one, but all the different generations, original Mega Man, Mega Man X, like characters like Zero and Bass would be involved. Mm-hmm. Bass is one of my favorite characters of all time in anything. And
Bass was the humanoid, right? Treble was the dog.
Yes. Yeah. No. You're thinking of Mega Man X. Bass was remember the guy with the long ears, the long black ears.
No, I don't.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But so basically, what the issue that they were encountering was it was just stuck in this perpetual state of they didn't know which direction they wanted to go. Whether they wanted to combine them all or have it be like a generational thing, and they finally ceased operations on it. It just wasn't going anywhere. And
it was in development. How long?
I don't even know, to be honest. They've been talking about it for a while. And this is a recent series of games. I mean, Mega Man Legends 3 was also canceled.
Yeah, which pissed me off.
Yes.
As a lover of Mega Man Legends 1, yeah. And I loved Mega Man Legends 2. And if you haven't played it, go out there. It was on the PS1, original PS1.
Yeah.
So if you have a PS1 still, or some other way to get it.
Well, your PS3 can run a PS1 game.
I don't know if it's on the PS1 library.
But the PS3s can run PS1 games. The backwards compatibility works that way. It just doesn't backwards compatible PS2 games. That's the only thing.
It skipped a generation on backwards compatibility.
Yeah, because of the emulators.
See, I never knew that.
No. But
if you have the game, or another way of playing it, if you don't have a PS4,
it is worth it.
It's worth playing. It is one of my highly recommended games out there. It's another one of those games that flew under people's radars at the time. It is a gem of a game, and if you say otherwise, I'll argue with you on this.
He won't argue for very long. He's kind of a pushover.
Shut up.
But anyway, this is one of the issues that I have with this. Mega Man Legends 3 gets bumped. It's okay, fine, I understand. It's kind of one of their lesser known titles. But then this online game, which was, it was one of the things that they were looking to like jump into the next level with. And they consistently, Capcom is always talking about, Mega Man's their most popular character. Even though they have like characters like,
they have the entire Street Fighter franchise to look at.
Yeah, I mean they have all these characters.
Devil May Cry.
Well. No, let's not go there.
Okay, the original Devil May Cry, not the new one.
Yeah, let's not go there. For them to say this is one of our most well-known, one of our most popular characters, and then they just don't seem very, very interested, very, very confident in the Blue Bomber's ability to bring in the numbers. And I mean, I can understand why they wouldn't want to really go the MMO route. What with WoW cannot be taken off its throne.
No,
it is an outdated game that people will still willingly pay monthly subscriptions. To play.
The only way WoW will go off its throne
is if they decide to stop having people play it.
If people decide playing it.
No. People won't stop. They're addicted.
Okay. The only other way I could see them WoW getting off its throne is the only WoW killer would be World of Warcraft 2.
But that's not a WoW killer. That just takes all the people and keeps them in the same situation. It doesn't really kill anything.
Yeah, true.
I mean, like we've had how many games have come through? Oh, this is going to be the next WoW killer. I mean, if I recall correctly, they said about City of Heroes. City of Heroes was really, really good.
It was good. It was fun. I loved it.
But it just never garnered the numbers. And Guild Wars, we're going to kill it, But
well, Guild Wars gained its own audience.
But what I'm saying is, and then the next thing was I forget what
there were so many MMOs.
I forget what the one after that was, and then DC Universe came out, and they were like, oh, this should work because comic books are so popular. And then the one that I was convinced was the only thing that could possibly have the existing fan base to even come close to what WoW has built up for itself, World of Warcraft, WoW, was the only one that I thought could come close was the Old Republic, because Star Wars has such a huge fan base, but I neglected to remember that most of their fan base are older and don't have time for such petty, nuances in their life.
Not all of them. You're true. Like the Old Republic.
This was not the MMO they were looking for.
No, it was not the MMO they were looking for. It was the MMO they just got.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at all those other MMOs, they still stand on their own merits. There's still good MMOs that stand on their own merits.
But one of the reasons why they get a lot of people to play them is because now they're free to play, and
which is the more likely model that most MMOs are going to go down on.
The only reason why they go down that model, though, is because they can't compete.
It's not so much that they can't compete, it's that they see, the way a lot of people have explained this to me at least, is these companies see a lot larger profit margin in a free-to-play model with their microtransactions than a monthly subscription base. The only reason WoW is standing on their monthly subscription base is because they have, 10 million players in that game?
Well, they have 10 million active accounts.
10 million active accounts. That's 10 million people paying.
Well, that's 10 million accounts being paid for. There are people that have multiple accounts. Sure. I wouldn't be shocked if a big chunk of those are multiple.
Still, you're talking
accounts.
about
but yeah, they're getting the same amount of money.
They're still getting several $1 billion a year just on monthly subscriptions alone, based on the number of players.
Well, I don't know how much they're making.
Well, I won't know that either. I'd have to ask someone who's an insider who can do the math.
Well, I don't really care enough to do that.
Neither do I.
Really
I don't care enough about to do that either. But that's the only reason they stay standing. Because of the amount of players they have. If the players start leaving, WoW will weaken.
Yeah.
But the chances of the players leaving WoW is slim to none.
It's built up its own. It has become its own.
It's its own culture. They said another one that tried to do it was EVE Online, but
that was the one I was thinking of. There you go.
Well, it is EVE Online, but EVE Online has its own thing, and my God, EVE Online is such an in-depth MMO. It's literally like playing Second Life in space.
Space life.
It is space life because you can literally do whatever the heck you want. You can just get real money.
Go to space bar, get space drink.
Space bar and have space drinks.
Yeah.
All this stuff. And these MMOs are just never going to catch up to WoW.
It's unfortunate too,
because a lot of companies now, like the current MMO that's coming out, the big one that I'm interested in is Elder Scrolls Online.
At risk of sounding like someone who is just hoping so much, I'm gonna say, Elder Scrolls has a really big built-in fan base. It might be able to survive long enough to where they don't need to go free to play.
Well, I think from what I've been hearing at least, they may go free to play right out the gate.
Oh, well then forget that. I'm completely
They
wrong
may
there.
go free to play out of the gate because they want people to still experience the same thing they would get if they were playing like Oblivion or Skyrim or Morrowind, where you create your own story well, not so much create your own
Actually,
story.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Now, since we're on Elder Scrolls, do you happen to know, because this is something I was thinking about recently, do you happen to know if they're going to be doing a Game of the Year edition of Skyrim with all the DLC?
Eventually, maybe?
Because
I have a feeling they will be eventually.
And that is something
that's their standard motif, because they did it for Fallout. They did
both
it for,
times.
They did it for Fallout. They did it for Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
When Fallout 4 comes out and all its DLCs are going to be released.
You won't see me for like a month.
No, when Fallout 4 comes out, I won't see you for a month. You'll be like, you probably won't even be sleeping that entire night.
Who sleeps?
We'll probably find a carcass in your house, just clinging to a controller with Fallout.
You'll find a carcass in my house and me chewing on it while I'm trying to beat this game, because I'm not going to be cooking food. What are you talking about?
We'll miss you, Ryan.
Don't tell my brother. I'm coming after him. But yeah, so we have we have all that going on. You know what we need to do? We've been going almost an hour now, and we haven't even told people what our perspective is that we're coming from. You're
right.
Maybe to understand what our reviews and how we're going to be coming from.
You have to understand what some of our favorite games were,
are
currently growing up.
Yeah. So how about this? You take over first, and I'll go after you.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to list off at least 5. Now, if it's a series of games, I'm just because I can and it's my list, I'm going to group them together. So, I've already mentioned that Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is one of my all-time favorite games. If I ever decide, because I don't have a Super NES anymore. Shame on me for getting rid of that thing, because that thing would probably be worth a metric ton of money right now. But I have a Super NES emulator. Every so often, I'll turn it on, plug in my file of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and play it, because I cannot get more than enough of that game. In terms of current generation, another one from that previous generation of that Super NES era was Final Fantasy IV. That game was awesome. Kain is one of my all-time favorite characters. In terms of this current generation, my big love this generation is the Mass Effect series. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I love those games to death. Even now, when I play them, I can't play them that much anymore because I feel like I'm starting to run out of options. I'm past to go.
Yeah.
But I can still sit down and enjoy that game because the story, I don't care what any of you people say about that ending. It is an amazing ending, especially with the extended cut that fixed it. I love that ending.
You really are Italian. You're pointing at people that aren't even in the room.
Yes, I am. I am pointing at my computer screen right now, telling you I don't care what you say about the Mass Effect 3 ending. It is awesome. I love these games, especially the most recent Citadel DLC. That DLC brought a tear to my eye. Outside of that, you've got, let's see, what other... Oh, how can I forget the Legacy of Kain series?
Oh, that is a good one.
The Legacy of Kain series. Oh my, I started with Soul Reaver. I didn't even start with Blood Omen.
I did.
I started with Soul Reaver 1, and I had so much trouble with that game because those Soul Reaver 1 and Soul Reaver 2, that is a tongue twister.
Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2.
The first two Soul Reaver games, they were so damn hard.
Well, what made them
They were
hard?
So challenging.
You never knew where the hell you were supposed to go.
Exactly.
You were always being directed by, some mysterious voice that didn't seem to want to tell you where you were supposed to go.
Tony J, I'll miss you.
Yeah. But he never really told. He just said, go this direction, and you were supposed to
go that way. Oh, wait, no. Raziel was Michael Bell.
Yeah.
The Elder God was Tony J.
Yeah, that's right.
These are the first voice actors I can remember. And
some of the best voice acting in game history, might I add.
Yes, because you had Kain was Simon Templeman, who did voices in Mass Effect, by the way. Not any of the major characters, but he did voices in Mass Effect. And every time I hear that voice, I'm like, you're Kain.
Well, the original Kain, Blood Omen Legacy of Kain.
It was the same actor.
It was the same
actor throughout the entire series.
That was basically really, really dark Legend of Zelda. But the voice acting for a top-down building entering kind of dungeon crawler was really, really off the charts for having, essentially no mouth movement, no anything that they really needed to accomplish.
Not until you got to the really the fully rendered cutscenes, which when you look at the graphics back then, today,
yeah.
You're like, wow, we went far.
Yeah, but not only that. I mean, like in the original Blood Omen, like it was almost told in like
it was like
a narrative.
It was told in a narrative. The entire series was constantly told in a narrative. It was like.
It was Kain, like, but like that one stands out to me more than any of the other in the series, because the way they explained it, like every single time you did something, like the voice would come over and be like, as I stood there holding my sword, like it was just so like profound, and like I almost feel like the way I talk to this day is sort of influenced by the way Kain talked in those games.
Oh my God, I love those games. What else was there? That's 4 I've listed so far. I need one.
Go ahead.
I want one more. Let's have. Well, already I've mentioned Metal Gear Solid 2's on there. Pretty much the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise, outside of the portable ops, Acid, Peace Walker. I never played any of those.
I've yet to play Peace Walker, so.
I've yet to play any of the portable ones. I don't know how good those are, so I'm not going to judge them. But along those lines, what else is there? There's so many good games I've played. Currently, my all-time favorite game well, not all-time.
I know what you mean.
Of this current year, at least, the best game I've played all year right now is Bioshock Infinite. And we're going to review that in a little bit. So I'm not going to tell you anything about the game right now. I'll tell you about it when we get to that point, and I'll give you my opinions on it then. So stay tuned for that. But, I mean, there's not many other big games that came out this year. Yeah. I mean, there were a couple big games that come out this year, but none that left as big of an impact as Bioshock Infinite did. Yeah. What are yours? Because I'm running out of ideas.
I got quite a few. I mean, like I mentioned already, I'm a huge Capcom fan, so you could just group those in.
You can just group. Okay. So Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Mega Man.
Devil May Cry, not DMC. Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry.
Dante before he was
1, 2, 3. What about 4?
4 was good, but
4 is kind of like
3 is still the standard in my opinion for Devil May Cry. Okay, so yeah, you got pretty much all those. Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Street Fighter, those games.
Final Fight was in there too, I think.
No, I don't think so. I actually don't know what Final Fight is. I'd have to go back and check that, to be honest with you. But I even liked, Lost Planet. Lost Planet was a game that, in my opinion, never gets its due.
No.
But that. I am a big, also Metal Gear Solid. You mentioned that. Dead Space is a big series of mine. I'm going to review later a Dead Space game, Dead Space 3.
Yeah, Dead Space 3 is coming up later.
And also, I am a huge fan of the God of War series. Even though it kind of panders to the lowest common denominator of gaming fans.
It does.
It does. I do enjoy it.
Well, we've already mentioned that you really love Fallout.
Oh yes, Fallout. If when the next Fallout comes out, I probably won't be on that show that week.
That month.
You could probably call in to my house during one of my very, very few bathroom breaks I will be taking during that game.
Because when Fallout 3 when Fallout 3 first came out, you were actually, I think, kind of skeptical about the Fallout games.
Yeah, I was a little bit because I wasn't really sure. But then I played it, and I could not believe how
you couldn't put your controller down.
I mean,
didn't you get 100% on Fallout 3? Or as close as possible.
I have played every version that you can of character in that game. I have played brawlers. I have played guns, super gun shooting, crazy nutcases. I have played people who use swords in a nuclear fallout wasteland.
Where guns are plentiful.
Where guns are really not that hard to find. I play in New Vegas. My favorite character of all time. I actually played as a fist fighter who wore boxing gloves and a cowboy hat named Dempsey, the douchebaggiest boxer in the Mojave. Okay, so I have played all of them. I'm actually of the mindset. A lot of people don't like New Vegas. I thought New Vegas was great.
I'm one of those ones that I didn't hate New Vegas. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't get into it as much as I did Fallout 3.
Fallout 3 was the superior of the two, but, I mean, as a transitional mid-game between 3 and 4, I felt New Vegas did fine. In fact, New Vegas had the far superior downloadable content. To this day, their downloadable content is much better.
Well, 3 had what?
Broken Steel,
the Pit.
The Pit, which was abysmally short and did not satiate any type of taste.
And Mothership Zeta, I think.
Mothership Zeta was good. The only good one was Point. I can't remember all of a sudden. Point Lookout or whatever. The one where you go to Maryland.
I thought it was Alaska.
No, that was Operation Anchorage.
Okay.
That one actually was not even really. That was just like a simulation. It was like a one long mission simulation. It wasn't really.
Okay.
It was the one where you go to Maryland. I can't remember it all of a sudden. I'm kind of ashamed I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But it was that was actually like I actually had a lot of trouble completing that section. Now, might I add too, as I made fun of Brian earlier for only playing games on easy with cheat codes. When I play Fallout, I start immediately on very hard. And even when I played New Vegas, I played very hard on hardcore mode. So as you can probably imagine, I log a lot of time into these, trying to grind out levels and stuff. So I've found a lot of things in those games most people haven't.
Probably.
I found
and New Vegas was the one that had the hardcore mode.
Hardcore mode was you had to maintain a balanced diet while you were walking through the desert. If you got thirsty and stuff, it was a big deal.
From what I heard, if you got the cantina, you didn't have to worry about that.
I didn't use that though.
You didn't use the canteen.
I actually enjoyed the challenge. But back to my games. There's a couple. Those are the main series I try to follow. I've also enjoyed over the course of time. One-shot games. I really like Shadow of the Colossus, as you know, is one of my favorites.
Shadow of the Colossus. I actually never
Ico.
really played Shadow of the Colossus, and to this day I regret it because everyone's telling me just.
I have the HD remake.
Yeah,
I can
just lend them to me.
Yeah.
Give me a gaming backlog. I'm bored.
I already have a backlog of games.
Yeah.
You know what's something you forgot to mention?
What's that?
On your gaming list? Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Brian is a big Assassin's Creed.
I love it. I played every single Assassin's Creed. I still have them. 3 was not my favorite.
Yeah. But yeah,
my favorite was Brotherhood.
He's big into Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, yes.
Yeah.
And I am really excited for Black Flag later this year.
But yeah, that's a little bit of background about either of us. I mean, we'll mention other games that we like.
We'll mention a bunch of other games we like because there's so many games you've played over time, and some of them may be in your top list of games you like and just sit down and play forever and ever and never get bored again. Some of them are just one and dones.
Uncharted series is like that for me.
Uncharted is kind of like a one and done.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to play that again.
Yeah.
As good as it was, it's just there's those parts that just annoy me.
Yeah.
And you're never getting your copy of Uncharted 3 back.
No, probably not. Yeah, I lend him my games, and
sometimes they return.
Sometimes they return to their rightful owners. Other times they're just like, oh, I forgot you had this.
Yeah, they're in a safe place.
I'm taking it.
They're in a safe place.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, so, I think now that they've kind of understand
they kind of understand where we're coming from now. So
and we previewed what we're going to talk about in reviews. We did previews for reviews, if you will.
Yeah, previews for reviews. I like that. I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
As I write it on my hand.
Yeah, you're writing it on your hand with no pen.
Exactly.
So I say we go into reviews right now.
Yeah, let's get into our reviews. The first one we're going to review, both of us played, each of us decided to play 1 or 2 games. I played 2 on my own. Well, you've tasted Metal Gear Rising, so I figured we can do a fair double review on that one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So each one of us did an individual playthrough. I played Bioshock Infinite. Russ played Dead Space 3. Both of us did God of War Ascension, and both of us, well, I beat it. He didn't finish it. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which is still, in my opinion, the dumbest name for a title of a game ever.
And Subsistence was any better? I mean,
touche.
Come on, any Ground Zeroes? He's not.
He's not great on the title.
I think his English needs a little work, but he is Japanese.
Either that or he's just making up words, and I'm just like, Kojima, stop it.
I think he is.
But God of War Ascension, man, this game. This game.
Let me take
You take over.
Okay. It's God of War. I mean, really, you can't say much about it. It's the industry standard for hack and slash, mega violent, kill everything on screen video games, and whereas Ascension is. A little background for it. It's the beginning of the series. So it's actually, in my opinion, this helps it a little bit, is that it's kind of something that Sony's going to wrangle people in and try to, people who might have missed the earlier games are just kind of hitting that age now.
Well, because pretty much every single God of War game is now on the PS3. You've got
the collection.
You have the 5 Saga collection, which is the PSP games. God of War 1, God of War 2.
Yeah, it's God of War 1.
Well, it's God of War 1, 2, and 3.
And then Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta.
And Ghost of Sparta, all on one. It's either one disc?
It's 2 discs, and then they give you some vouchers for the downloadables. The downloadables are the 2
PSP games?
PSP games.
Okay, so I was like, wait, they put all that on one disc?
No,
that's impressive.
It's on 2 discs.
Okay.
I believe it's 1 and 2 is on one disc, and 3 is on the other.
And then the vouchers are for the downloadables.
Yeah, I happen to have all of them before that, so it's, I may just buy it anyway, just have it in one convenient package.
Yeah.
So
you could still go back and play the previous games. And Ascension, in terms of storyline in the God of War franchise, Ascension takes place, I believe,
it's first.
It's the very first one.
It's the very first one.
Well, unless they make another one.
Well, yeah, unless they make another one before.
Unless they make another one before this one.
Yeah. But now, this is what I'm going to say about it. The graphics for God of War have always been good, so I'm not even going to.
God of War has been famous for its quote-unquote scenery porn.
Yeah, it's scenery porn.
It's scenery porn.
At some point, actual porn in the series.
Well, then again, it is based on Greece, and Greece at that time was, well...
I mean, this is the thing. If you're just looking for a mindless good time, you don't really got to think much with the God of War series.
No, because the storyline is pretty much, I want vengeance.
Yeah.
On who?
Everyone.
Who's my monster of the week?
Yes.
Ares, the gods, the Furies.
Don't give away too much, Brian.
That guy.
But yeah, so but definitely, I mean, I suggest it, especially like if you're a person who's never played God of War. Well, first of all, where the hell have you been?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Where have you been for God of War? Like I have, like my grace with the game is like I'm playing the game on normal. Yeah, for once I'm playing the game on normal.
Rarity.
It is a rarity. Well, you were in the room when I decided to choose my starting.
Yeah, and I watched you die 16 times. I was like, really, Brian? Really?
Yeah, all right, I'll admit it. I play games on easy sometimes.
But sometimes.
Oh, that's another game on my favorite list. Grand Theft Auto 4.
Okay, enough of that. We're past the.
We're past that point, but it just came into my head.
Okay, back to the review. We got to stop getting off topic here. Nonsense. But anyway, so like my suggestion would be if you haven't played it, Ascension's a great place to start off because it's the very beginning.
Yeah. So if you went.
I would. So if you're interested in, if you're a hack and slash fan, somebody who likes mindless violence, isn't really interested in a really lengthy experience. I'd like to call a lot of people call them casual gamers. I call them weekenders.
Yeah.
I've kind of become a weekender since I've been at school.
You've been at school. I kind of became a weekender because, in a sense that I kind of just. Well, I'm not so much a weekender. I kind of fall into another group of people called power gamers.
Yeah.
Who kind of just power through the game. Who complete the game in like a day and a half. Yeah. And then after that, you're just like, okay, what do I do now?
Either kind of person though could play this game, a power gamer or a
because the main storyline, I feel like you can complete in like 8, maybe 10 hours.
Generally, God of War is anywhere from 8 to 14 hours.
8 to 14 hours. I feel like this one's gonna be like a 10-hour game.
So if you're looking for a good couple weeks of gaming, go and pick this up with and it's right now it's $60. I mean, if you want to wait till it's $40.
If you want to wait till
the way that it works now, I mean, after about 2 months, the games go down to $40. Wait till it goes down to $40. Grab the 5 Saga collection, and you'll just
the 5 Saga collection is what now?
$30.
$30.
So you mean you're looking at committing like under $100? You're getting 6 quality hack and slash games.
That'll give you about a week's worth of play.
If you're somebody who just plays through them, well, it'll give you a week. If you're somebody like me who kind of likes to savor the game a little bit longer, maybe put it down for a couple days before you pick it up again, it will take you maybe upwards of a month to beat all of these games. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. This is based on the fact that it's above an average. It's an above average game. Yeah, it's an above average hack and slash game, but it's not a stellar game at the same time. There are flaws with it,
and I personally kind of grade flaws a little heavier than you probably would grade the flaws. Mm-hmm. We're going to give it 2 individual scores. Russ is giving it his score. I'm going to give it my score. From my perspective, I enjoyed the game. The combat is amazing. It is still pretty much sticking to that stable of the action platformer game right now. The hack and slash action platformer, which a lot of games based off earlier, like Dante's Inferno was based off God of War. Like literally a clone of God of War.
Yeah, you pretty much could have called it Dante of War.
You could have. But from my perspective, the graphics were a little, like, I kind of feel like the graphics are a little dated now.
Well, yeah, they're not really
everything,
going too nuts.
Compared to everything now, I feel they could have updated the graphics engine a little bit better. They kind the scenery porn I like, but that camera is just irking me because when at some points in the combat, the camera really was like my enemy. The camera was my enemy.
Yeah, the camera should never be your enemy. A lot of people used to have that complaint with Resident Evil games, too. I mean,
but that was the point of Resident Evil, though.
You never knew what was around the corner.
Exactly.
God of War, it's really not that good. But whenever you're able to do a 360 spin that outreaches to like 12 feet on each side from your body,
fair enough.
You can,
fair enough. So while he's giving it a 4 out of 5, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Mainly because there were a couple graphical glitches I hit. Some of the boss fights I found to be a little unbalanced, but then again, that could probably just been because I suck.
Yeah.
More likely because I suck.
I think we should explain our ranking system.
Yeah, our ranking system. Yeah. 5 is a perfect game.
5 is a perfect game.
4
is a above average game.
Mm-hmm.
3 is an average game. 2 is below average. 1 is
why did you make this?
Why did you make this? And a 0 would be E.T. E.T. the game. Okay.
0 stars would be E.T. the game.
So basically, we're not going to give it. We're going to give either a 1, 2, 3, 4, a solid whole number, or a 0.5 in between if we're kind of on the fence as to which side. We're not going to break down any further down to like. We're not going to go to like a 3.2. We're not going to go to like a 4.7. We're not going to do anything like that.
No, it's going to be like
it's going to be a 1, a 1.5, a 2, a 2.5, like that. You know.
Yeah. Because it's easier, like, it's like a 3.5, because movies kind of do the same thing, where it's like on that, like, you see a lot of Academy Award-winning films, like, you go on the Optum, you hit the info that shows you the star number.
Yeah, it's always a 5.
It's like a 3 stars, 4.5 stars. Yeah. I've yet to see a 5-star on any of those details, unless it's, like, probably Gone with the Wind, or Titanic, or Sound of Music, or something like that. Those are the only times I've seen it.
So, there we go. But when we average it out, our score for the dual review, which we will do every show, comes out to a 3.75 for this particular time.
But
that's because he has a 3.5 and I have a 4. It's not because we are together deciding that.
No, but then again, like, we may not group those scores together. I think we should just keep them separate. That way, like, okay. He likes it more than I do. Like, it kind of keeps that Ebert and Roper style. Like, you know, the thumb up, thumb down, thumb in the middle.
Caesar.
The Caesar, exactly. The Caesar.
All right, so do you want to go next with your...
Sure. Let's go next to, let's go down to the line to Bioshock Infinite. Now, this game came out, last week? Yes, last week. This came out last week. I've been playing this game all week. I beat it. When did I beat it? I beat it the other day. I beat it the other day, and...
I'm sure you did, Brian. I'm sure you did.
I did. This game is amazing. Oh my God, this game is amazing. I love every aspect of this game. The voice acting in this game is some of the best voice acting I have heard in a long time. Now, there's some good voice acting in a lot of other games, but the voice acting in this game was just top-notch. The story, I don't want to reveal too much of the story because I'm afraid I will reveal plot twists in the game, and I really don't want to reveal those because they are really amazing plot twists. What else? The graphics in this game. I bought it on my PC, so I was getting the best possible graphics out of the game possible with my setup and my computer. So I have my graphics set to very high, and there's some people out there I know who probably had it set to ultra, who could probably attest to better graphics, but my God, those graphics were beautiful. They were some of the best graphics I've seen in a game in a long time. The only thing that got close to it, but then again, it's a totally different art style, was Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, but we'll get to that in a minute. The music, and like, I kind of grade everything individually. Like, I kind of grade the sound separately, the graphics separately, the story separately, the gameplay separately.
Ain't nobody got time for that shit.
People have time for that
Ain't
stuff.
nobody got time for that shit.
We'll figure that out. But gameplay-wise, it's a standard first-person shooter build. It's pretty much the same type of build you would get with Bioshock. It's standard first-person controls. The mouse controls where you're aiming. The right, left mouse button, yeah. If you know a first-person shooter, it's those controls. You'll feel right at home. The only added option were the vigors. These special powers that you get. Like, you can shoot crows out of your hand, murdering crows out of your hands, to kind of just maintain crowd control. You can electrocute your enemies. You can lob firebomb grenades. You can lift people off the air. You can launch a watery tentacle at someone to hold them in place.
That brings up all sorts of weird thoughts.
Stop it.
Watery tentacles.
Like, the gameplay in Bioshock Infinite is some of the best I've seen all year. The story, I really want to talk to people about the story, but all I'll give is the basics. You play this man named Booker DeWitt, and Booker DeWitt is a former Pinkerton. He was a former Pinkerton who is tasked by someone to go to this place, this city in the sky called Columbia. And Columbia is supposed to be the pinnacle of American ideologies. Like, pure American ideologies. Like, America all the way. And you go to the city in the sky, and you're tasked with finding this girl named Elizabeth. And because of this, you discover some things that have been going on around the city. Everything is not all as it seems in this land, in this sort of utopia. And you pretty much have to go on this grand adventure to right the wrongs. And the plot twist at the end, like I said, I don't want to reveal it. For those of you who have played it, you know the plot twist I'm talking about. It was an amazing plot twist. So me personally...
Just in case you weren't sure whether you were going to M. Night Shyamalan or not here, you're going to.
Well, it's not an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. It's not like...
I was joking.
It's not like... oh my God, these aliens are weak against water, and why are they invading a planet full of water? Kind of plot twist and questions. It's good. So for me personally, like, there are a couple of graphical glitches I saw here and there, and those graphical glitches kind of irked me a little bit. So while I would love to give this game a 5 out of 5, I don't want to. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 as my final rating for this game. It is one of the best games that I've played all year. So what's next on our list? We got
Dead Space 3.
Dead Space 3. It's your turn.
Okay, this one is a bit it's a bit past how long it's been, but when Brian originally told me I was going to be on his radio show, I was playing the game at the time, so I did a review based on what I did at the time. And so I'm going to go with it. It's been about a little over a month. It's been about a month and a half since it came out, so a lot of people are a little bit they've either played it. Dead Space 3.
I have it on my PC.
Anybody who's played Dead Space knows it's all about the scary scare.
Yes.
It's about being scared.
I played the first Dead Space, and actually no, I played it with our friend Dave.
Yeah.
And that was entertaining to watch Dave play it because he jumped at everything.
Yeah, Dave's a jumper.
He jumped at everything.
Yeah. Now, with the original Dead Space, in my opinion, was the closest thing to reinventing the survival horror genre. We might see a little bit later soon with The Last of Us.
Yes.
Might reinvent it, but it was like the closest thing, because one of the things people always talk about with any survival horror or anything is, why the hell are these idiots or this moron staying in this location? Well, Dead Space kind of did to the survival horror games what Alien did. The movie Alien did to the movie industry for horror movies, and that was, you can't just leave, you're in space. So, and the first one, I gave a 5. I would give a 5 out of 5. I thought it was amazing. It was well paced. You had a silent protagonist, which I normally don't like, but in this particular situation, I enjoyed.
Well, he started talking in the second game.
In the second game, yeah. But you had a silent protagonist. Everything was well done. There's a great storyline which follows, religions and all the, it's very a lot more in depth than a lot of people realize. And one thing that has always been really good about Dead Space is the fact that you're never quite sure if you're going to make it to the next section of the game. I remember when I first started playing Dead Space 1, I looked at it like this. I was like, well, I actually have no idea whether or not I have enough ammo or health or anything, or if I even have the right weapons to take care of what's around the next corner. And that continued into the second one. I actually had to start the second game over because I got to a section I just couldn't beat because I just poorly planned out my weapon selection. I actually
hate it when that happens.
I was actually stuck. I was about 3/4 of the way through the game, and I had to start over.
Ooh.
That being said, with the third one, what they've gone is the route that sadly almost all games are going now, including survival horrors.
Like Resident Evil 6 kind of went down that
Resident
route.
Evil 1. And that is that now they're adding co-op. And with co-op, one of the things that happens when you're playing a survival horror game, you see, for an action game, that's not a bad thing.
No.
But when you're trying to have a survival horror experience, you never feel quite as scared as you never feel that loneliness feeling. You never one of the things about Dead Space that's always made it better to me is that you always kind of feel like you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even when you encountered a human or they're talking to you through a radio, you always kind of feel like every corner you're no one's there to help you. And one of the issues with having someone right next to you, like I said, is it takes away that suspenseful feeling. And so if I'm going to suggest this game to anybody who hasn't played it already, which I'm sure most people who would be interested in it have played it already, but I would say the first time you play through, do it on single player mode, because it will give you a better effect. So this is one of the very few times that playing with yourself is actually more appreciated. So, get a partner later. And just it's still a great game, but it is another thing that's an issue with it is I'm starting to realize as the series is going on that Spark, the main character, is kind of becoming an unstoppable badass. And whereas in the first game I always felt like I always felt vulnerable, in the later games I don't feel as vulnerable. By the halfway point, I'm just kind of chopping through things, I'm not going to give too many details on the story because I'd have to go all the way back to the first game.
Would you recommend starting from Dead Space 1 before you play Dead Space 2?
You have to. I don't even have to recommend it. It's almost required. To understand what's going on in the third game, you have to play the first and second one. It's not the kind of game where you could just pick it up from wherever you feel like. The in-depth, if you tried to play the second one without playing the first one, you'd be completely lost. Same thing goes for the third one. The in-depth of the storyline are, it's mostly about Isaac's tortured mind and how he's kind of locked in this if you play it, you'll understand where I'm going. I'm trying to be as vague as possible on purpose. But I would give it, much like my review of God of War Ascension, I'm going to give this a 4. And that's simply because it's down from the 5 from the original game, because it's just becoming a point where I don't feel like that same I feel like I can just kind of waltz through it now. They're probably gonna have to reinvent it a little bit more, not so much giving it co-op, which I really didn't enjoy, but I'm gonna stick with a 4 for now.
All right. And the last game we're going to review tonight is Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Again, I cannot stress this enough. I hate that name. Kojima, learn English. Stop making words. Stop it. So let's get into this. What did you think of it, Ross?
Well, the only way
You have yet to complete it. I know that.
Yeah, I've yet to complete. I have kind of a backlog of games I'm trying to beat right now. It's kind of rough, especially ever since I got my new 3DS, and I've been thumbs deep in Pokemon for the last month and a half.
Good God.
But anyway, what I would say is, it almost feels like it's a whole separate series.
I think that's what their intention was.
It's Raiden plus rock and roll. That's the best way I can put it. It's Raiden plus rock and roll. And if you played Metal Gear Solid 4 and you know how Raiden is now, I mean, at this point, there's no reason to not really explain. Raiden, he's basically taken over the role that Gray Fox had in the first game.
Yeah, he is the cyborg ninja, but Then again, in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, you're like the entire Metal Gear franchise with this game is kind of going down that cyberpunk sci-fi style.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. But you're kind of getting the... I feel like it's kind of... I don't know how to describe it, actually.
I mean, whereas the action portion is cool and, like, the effects are cool.
The Blade mode's fun.
The Blade mode is cool. The storyline is a bit weak.
Oh, yeah, I'll agree with you there. The storyline, I could care less about the storyline, especially once you get to the halfway point, and the storyline... and once you get to the ending, the storyline just jumps the shark.
Well, that happens with every Kojima game.
Yeah. No, I mean really jumps the shark.
He jumps the shark?
Jumps the shark really hard.
Okay. But, so I mean, like I said, I haven't completed it yet, but from what I've played, it's an enjoyable experience. It is, however, you know, if you haven't played the other Metal Gear games, you can still play it, but it's kind of like...
Yeah, you really don't need to play the previous Metal Gear games to fully appreciate this one, but it is good to get some like context on Raiden's character.
You know what I did hear though, before we give our review numbers on it, I did hear that originally, I was reading an article. Originally, they wanted to make this game about Gray Fox. I
did not know that.
Yeah, apparently originally, but they decided to change it because of Gray Fox being not being as relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just read an article. That could be false.
That could be speculation.
Yeah, it could be speculation. But I'm just gonna give it a nice average 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll agree with you there on the 3.
Yeah.
And here's my reasons why. I'll agree with you in that the story is really, really weak.
Yes, it's offset by awesome visuals.
I try to like fully appreciate the story. It's made by Platinum Star Games, which is the same company that did Bayonetta and I think they did the Ninja Gaiden games, or am I?
No, Ninja Gaiden is Team Ninja.
Team Ninja, okay. And I think they also did the original Devil May Cry games, or I'm confused.
No, Devil May Cry is totally Capcom.
Oh, okay. Platinum Star Games did something else. I know that. They did Bayonetta and something else.
The original Devil May Cry was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, but they deviated.
Whatever. But pretty much... the story is weak. Like, the codec sequences give you a little bit more context on what's going on in the world, better flesh out the story, but at the same time, I'm just like, I don't care about the story. The most fun I had with the game were the boss fights and the actual combat in the game. The combat system in the game is very, very fun. It is so much fun to just slice everything up into a million tiny pieces.
But this is really a situation. This is really one of those situations where awesome visuals don't make the entire game.
No, they don't.
So we're going to give it a 3 based on that.
The only thing that I will say that I took out of this game that I could never get enough of was the soundtrack.
That was cool. Yeah,
that soundtrack is amazing.
Well, Metal Gear Solid has always been known for really.
Yeah, but this is one of those rocking sounds.
Kojima in general, he knows how to pick his music.
He does.
I mean, going back to Police Knots had a great soundtrack. It was a point and click game.
Yes, it did.
With a great soundtrack.
But this is a great rocking soundtrack that I actually play in my car sometimes when I'm driving.
I'm not shocked.
No, you're not. I play it in my car sometimes when I'm driving, and it's just like really good music that I can listen to on its own. Is there anything else we got to talk about, or?
I'm pretty much tapped out.
We're pretty much tapped out here, so we're going to sign off right here. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. For those that have yet to listen in, there's going to be a podcast version of this show available in the download section on this page later on.
And if you have any suggestions of segments or things you'd like us to talk about during the week, it's going to be bi-weekly we're going to be doing
bi-weekly, every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks we're going to be doing this.
Anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half about.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's a really, really jam-packed week, we might do 2.
We might do 2 hours.
But if you have any suggestions, things you'd like to talk to us about, send us questions. It can be about us even. You can ask us questions. You know, like we said, I mean, no one did it today, but as we get more listeners, we're hoping somebody will call in eventually.
Yeah, we're hoping people will call in. If you have comments, questions, want to join in on the conversation, you can call into the live broadcast. We'll listen to you. We'll join you in on the conversation. We have a Facebook page. Like us on Facebook. It's under Game Nation.
I mean, please consider calling, because, I mean, here's the problem is
every 2 weeks I don't want to just spend my weekend, my Saturday afternoon just with Brian here. I mean,
hey, I'm good company, but you are right. It is better to have other people join in on the conversation to get another perspective.
I mean, me and him do have a similar concept of what a good video game is and where. So we'd like to get a few other perspectives. You know,
either people who may or may not know or claim they know video games better than us. Maybe some journalists are listening in and want to contribute. Give us a call. Send us emails.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's going to be a download section for this, so you can listen to it later if you missed the episode or you want to listen to it again. Like us on Facebook at Game Nation. Again, we'll see you guys again in 2 weeks. Enjoy the show.
Stay classy.